Working in the fields was a labor-intensive occupation during the early to mid-20th century for many African Americans. For many blacks, there were no mechanical means for cultivating the land they were farming. They would work from sunup to sundown during the months of March through June, planting.
They had a term for this called lay-by. Lay-by meant that all the labor-intensified work was done. This is the period where you work from sunup to sundown, planting, cultivating the crops that you were growing. Usually in June, you were waiting for the crop to grow into maturity so you can harvest it. That's when the idea of homecoming came about. Then you had time to socialize. So churches would organize the annual event of homecoming with a combination of bringing Christianity into people's lives, where they would have revivals. The revival normally preceded the homecoming event. They would be a 5-night period where they would ask people to confess Christ, and then on a Sunday, the following Sunday, they would celebrate, which is homecoming. This was a time when people who may have lived long distance from their original birthplace, they would come home and join in the celebration.
Homecoming was the highlight or social event for African Americans during the early to mid-1900s. It was a time for blacks to worship and lead others to Christianity. It also gave those that lived far away an opportunity to visit their birthplace. Each family would provide food for this annual event. Many would prepare food they grew or raised, such as butter beans, peas, pork, and chicken. Transportation during the early 1900s was a problem. Many in the rural South would travel by mule, horse, wagon, or walk. Though African Americans did not enjoy some of the treats we enjoy today, they did enjoy a small treat we use every day.
And one of the real treats of another real treat for black folks was the fact that on homecoming, they would get something really cold to drink, because ice was a luxury. Most folks did not own ice box or refrigerators. So what they would do, they would go get blocks of ice, and they would use ice picks to make little chunks of ice and put it in the cup. And most folks, that would be the first cool drink or cold drink they would have since the winter.
For one set of participants, they had their own way of celebrating homecoming.
One of the men had gotten really creative. There was a plum bush where a lot of plum trees were wild plum trees, and he had cut a little pathway deep into these plum bushes, and then he made a big opening on the inside. So the men would sneak off into these plum bushes and had a cover so they could go there and drink and socialize with each other, and then they would come out after they had their drink and go back in the service. On this particular occasion, my grandmother, who always had a strong voice in the church, she needed the deacons to come and lead the devotion, and so the story goes, she had to go out in that plum bush and flush those deacons out of there.
For more episodes of African American history in the South, subscribe to this channel at the bottom of the screen.